An injured dog bursts into a hospital with her puppies, alarming a nurse. Tension rises as two mysterious, suspicious men enter. Noticing the animal's fear, the nurse calls the police. The truth uncovered leaves even the most seasoned officers in a state of shock. On a seemingly ordinary spring morning in San Francisco, the bustling corridors of Golden Gate Memorial Hospital are jolted by an extraordinary sight. Through the sliding glass doors of the emergency department stumbles an exhausted and injured golden retriever, gently carrying a whimpering puppy in her mouth. Two more puppies, visibly weak and distressed, trail behind her, their paws leaving faint bloody prints on the polished linoleum floor. The early morning calm is shattered as staff and patients alike freeze in disbelief. Sunlight streams through the large windows, illuminating the scene in an almost ethereal glow. The dog's golden coat, matted with dirt and what appears to be dried blood, catches the light, creating a halo effect around her determined figure. The distinct aroma of antiseptic that typically permeates the air is momentarily overpowered by the earthy scent of the animals. The steady beeping of medical equipment provides an incongruous backdrop to the whines and pants of the canine family. In the reception area, a diverse mix of San Franciscans, from suited professionals clutching their morning lattes to bohemian artists sporting colorful tattoos, watch in awe as this drama unfolds. A young intern drops his clipboard, the clatter echoing through the suddenly hushed room. As if sensing she's reached safety, the mother dog gently lowers her precious cargo to the floor. Her amber eyes, filled with a mix of exhaustion and hope, scan the room, finally settling on a figure in blue scrubs standing motionless by the nurse's station. This is Nurse Sarah Coleman, known throughout the hospital for her compassion. As their eyes meet, an almost palpable connection forms between the human and the canine, setting in motion a chain of events that will shake the city to its core. Nurse Sarah Coleman, a woman in her mid-40s with kind eyes and prematurely graying hair, is the first to break from the collective trance. Her gentle demeanor belies a strength forged through personal trials. As she approaches the golden retriever, her hands, steady from years of medical practice, tremble slightly, a reflexive response to a past marred by abuse that she's worked hard to overcome. Sarah kneels beside the dog, her voice soft and reassuring. "It's okay, girl. You're safe now." The dog's tail wags weakly in response, a glimmer of trust in her exhausted eyes. Dr. James Harrison, the attending physician, joins Sarah. In his early 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a perpetual furrow in his brow, Dr. Harrison is known for his no-nonsense approach. However, the sight before him causes a rare crack in his professional facade. "My God," he mutters, "I've never seen anything like this." As Sarah begins to examine the dogs, her trained eye notices alarming signs of long-term mistreatment. Scars peek through the golden's matted fur, and the puppies show signs of malnourishment. Her heart aches, recognizing in these animals a reflection of her own past struggles. The commotion draws the attention of Officer Mike Brennan, a middle-aged security guard with a penchant for donuts and a hidden soft spot for animals. His usual gruff exterior softens as he approaches, radio in hand. "Need me to call animal control?" he asks, his voice gruff but his eyes betraying concern. Sarah shakes her head at Officer Brennan's suggestion. "No, Mike. These animals need immediate medical attention. We'll handle this in-house for now." Her voice carries a quiet authority that brooks no argument. The golden retriever, despite her exhaustion, remains vigilant. Her eyes never leave her puppies, a testament to her unwavering maternal instinct. Sarah names her Hope, a fitting moniker for a dog who's clearly been through so much yet still fought to save her young. In the background, we glimpse Jamal Washington, the hospital's janitor. An older man with a limp and wise, kind eyes, Jamal pauses his work to watch the unfolding scene. His weathered face creases with concern as he mutters a quiet prayer for the animals. As word spreads through the hospital, we see fleeting glimpses of other staff and patients. Some press against windows or peer around corners, their faces a mix of curiosity and concern. Among them is Dr. Laura Simmons, the hospital's administrator, her usually stern expression softening as she observes from afar. The atmosphere in the emergency department shifts from its usual clinical efficiency to one of compassionate urgency. It's clear that these unexpected canine patients have touched something deep within the hearts of everyone present. As the hospital staff rallies around Hope and her puppies, the automatic doors slide open once more. Two men enter, their presence immediately altering the atmosphere. The taller one, dressed in an expensive suit that can't quite hide his muscular build, scans the room with cold, calculating eyes. His companion, shorter and stockier, fidgets nervously, his gaze darting from person to person. "Excuse me," the taller man addresses the reception desk, his voice smooth yet somehow unsettling. "We're looking for a dog, a golden retriever. Might have come in here with some puppies. Family pet, you see. Got out this morning." Officer Brennan steps forward, his posture subtly shifting to place himself between the newcomers and the animals. "Sorry, gentlemen," he says, his tone carefully neutral. "No dogs have been brought in here. This is a people hospital, after all." As the suspicious men reluctantly leave the hospital, Sarah's mind races. She gently strokes Hope's head, feeling a deep connection with the brave mother dog. "It's okay, girl," she whispers. "I won't let anyone hurt you or your babies." Hope's tail wags weakly in response, her trust in Sarah growing. Sarah hesitates, then meets his gaze. "James, I see myself in her. The scars, the fear, the desperate need to protect." Her voice wavers slightly. "I know what it's like to run from abuse, to fight for survival." Meanwhile, Emily, the young intern, is gently examining the puppies. Her eyes widen as she notices something unusual. "Dr. Harrison, Nurse Coleman, look at this," she calls out. "These puppies, they're not just any golden retrievers. See these markings? I think they might be from a rare bloodline." As the team discusses the implications, Jamal the janitor approaches, pushing his cart. "Excuse me," he says softly, his aged voice carrying wisdom. "I couldn't help but overhear. Back in my hometown we had a saying, when a stray finds you, it's not by accident. These dogs chose to come here for a reason." Sarah nods, a determined look settling on her face. "You're right, Jamal, and we're going to find out why." She turns to the group. "We need to keep this quiet for now. Those men can't know the dogs are here." As the team disperses to their tasks, Sarah remains by Hope's side, a silent promise passing between woman and dog. Little do they know, this is just the beginning of a journey that will test their courage, compassion, and resilience. As the day progresses, the bonds between the hospital staff and their unexpected canine patients deepen. Sarah, taking a short break, finds herself in the hospital chapel, a quiet space she often retreats to for reflection. She's surprised to find Dr. Laura Simmons there, the usually stoic administrator, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable. "I heard about the dogs," Laura says softly. It brought back memories." Sarah listens as Laura reveals a part of her past she's kept hidden, her childhood dog, who had protected her from an abusive stepfather. "That dog saved my life," Laura concludes, wiping away a tear. "We owe it to these animals to do the same." Meanwhile, Officer Mike Brennan is making calls, reaching out to old contacts in the police force. His gruff exterior melts away as he speaks to his former partner. "Listen, Dave, I need a favor. We've got a situation here that smells fishy. Two guys came looking for some dogs, and my gut says they're bad news. In the hospital cafeteria, Emily Chen sits with Jamal, the wise janitor. I've always wanted to make a difference," Emily confides, "but I never imagined it would be like this." Jamal smiles, his eyes twinkling. "Sometimes, young lady, life gives you opportunities in the most unexpected packages." Dr. James Harrison, known for his detachment, finds himself deeply moved by Hope's devotion to her puppies. As he checks on them, he thinks of his own estranged daughter. "You're a better parent than I ever was," he murmurs to Hope, resolving to make amends. Back in the makeshift animal ward, Sarah gently cleans Hope's wounds. "You know," she says softly, "I had a dog once when I was a little girl. She was my best friend, my protector." Sarah's voice catches. "I lost her when I ran away from home. But now, looking at you, I feel like I've found a piece of her again." As night falls, the hospital settles into an uneasy quiet. The team has managed to keep the dog's presence a secret, but there's a shared sense that this is just the calm before the storm. Each person involved, from Sarah to Dr. Simmons, from Officer Brennan to young Emily, feels irrevocably changed by the day's events, their lives now intertwined with the fate of a brave mother dog and her puppies. As dawn breaks over San Francisco, the tranquility of Golden Gate Memorial Hospital is shattered by an unexpected visit. Detective Alex Morgan, a seasoned investigator with the SFPD, strides through the entrance, his presence immediately putting the staff on edge. Sarah, who had been checking on Hope and her puppies, feels her heart race. She exchanges a worried glance with Dr. Harrison before approaching the detective. "You realize," he says slowly, "that by harboring these animals without reporting them, you're potentially obstructing an investigation?" He reveals that the two men who had come looking for the dogs are suspected members of an international animal trafficking ring. The golden retriever and her puppies are believed to be part of a rare, valuable bloodline sought after by wealthy collectors. The gravity of the situation sinks in. The team realizes they're now entangled in a complex web of criminal activity that extends far beyond animal abuse. "He says it's a liability issue," Dr. Simmons reports, her face pale. But something doesn't feel right about his sudden interest. Outside the hospital, unnoticed by the preoccupied staff, a sleek black car pulls up. The two men from the previous day step out, accompanied by a third figure, a woman in an expensive suit, her cold eyes surveying the building. The team now faces a multifaceted crisis: protecting the dogs, saving the critically ill puppy, dealing with the legal implications of their actions, managing the hospital's financial threat, and fending off the looming danger posed by the traffickers. The situation at Golden Gate Memorial Hospital rapidly escalates. In the makeshift animal care unit, Emily works frantically to stabilize the sick puppy, her young face etched with worry. "Dr. Harrison," she calls out, her voice trembling. "The puppy's not responding to the antibiotics. I think we need specialized veterinary care." Dr. Harrison, torn between his duty to his human patients and his growing attachment to the dogs, makes a risky decision. "I know a vet who owes me a favor. I'll make the call, but we'll have to smuggle her in somehow." "I'm Alexandra Blackwood, Richard Blackwood's wife," she announces imperiously. "I demand to speak with the hospital administrator immediately." As Sarah attempts to deflect Mrs. Blackwood's probing questions, Officer Brennan notices the two men from earlier lurking near the emergency exit. He discreetly radios for backup, realizing the hospital's security might be overwhelmed if the situation turns violent. In Dr. Simmons' office, Detective Morgan is on the phone with his superiors, his expression growing increasingly grim. He turns to Dr. Simmons after hanging up. "The FBI is involved now. This trafficking ring has connections in high places. We can't trust anyone outside this room." Dr. Simmons sinks into her chair, the weight of the situation crushing down on her. "The board is meeting in an hour. They're talking about removing me if I don't resolve this dog issue immediately. I could lose everything I've worked for." The team realizes they're running out of time. They need to move the dogs, but with a sick puppy and limited options, the task seems almost impossible. As they scramble to implement Emily's plan, Sarah stays with Hope, who grows increasingly agitated, as if sensing the danger. "It's okay, girl," Sarah soothes, her own anxiety bleeding into her voice. "We won't let them take you or your babies." Detective Morgan, watching from the window, turns to the group, his face grave. "We're out of options. We need to evacuate the dogs now, or we risk losing them, and possibly much more." With the sound of footsteps approaching and time running out, the team faces its most critical moment. They must find a way to save the dogs, protect the hospital, and expose the truth, all while staying on the right side of the law. As they look at each other, fear and determination mingle in their eyes. The next few minutes will determine everything. In a flurry of coordinated activity, the team springs into action. Dr. Harrison, his usual composure replaced by urgent determination, begins prepping the puppies for transport. "Emily, get those tubes ready. We need to move fast." Meanwhile, Sarah kneels beside Hope, looking into the dog's intelligent eyes. "I know you're scared," she murmurs, "but I need you to trust us." With gentle coaxing, she manages to guide Hope into a large laundry cart, covering her with blankets. Officer Brennan takes charge of creating a diversion. He approaches the lobby, his demeanor shifting to one of authoritative urgency. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announces loudly, "we have a situation that requires immediate evacuation of this wing. Please follow me in an orderly fashion." Dr. Simmons, in a bold move, strides directly towards Mrs. Blackwood and her associates. "Mrs. Blackwood, I apologize for the wait. Why don't we discuss your concerns in the conference room?" Her voice is steady, betraying none of the turmoil she feels inside. The tension in the air is palpable as each team member plays their part. Emily's heart races as she sends the first puppy through the pneumatic system, praying it arrives safely. Sarah's palms sweat as she navigates the cart through crowded hallways, every bump and turn causing her to hold her breath. Just as it seems they might succeed, a sharp voice cuts through the chaos. "Stop right there!" One of the men in suits has spotted Sarah with the cart. In that moment, the success of their entire plan hangs in the balance, and Sarah must make a split-second decision that could change everything. In that crucial moment, Sarah's instincts take over. She locks eyes with Hope in the cart, drawing strength from the dog's unwavering trust. Without hesitation, she pushes the cart forcefully towards Detective Morgan, who's waiting by the service elevator. Officer Brennan, reacting with years of trained reflexes, intercepts the suit-clad man. "Sir, this area is off-limits due to a security threat," he states firmly, positioning himself as a human barrier. In the pneumatic tube control room, Emily works feverishly, her face a mask of concentration. "Two down, one to go," she mutters, gently placing the last puppy into the tube. Just as she's about to send it, the door bursts open. It's Dr. Harrison, out of breath. Without missing a beat, Emily makes a split-second decision. "No time, doctor, trust me." She hits the send button, then turns to Harrison. "Now show me to the puppy. I have an idea." Jamal, seeing the increasing number of suspicious individuals entering the hospital, makes his move. He accidentally spills his mop bucket, creating a slippery hazard that forces a temporary closure of the main entrance. As these events unfold, Sarah finds herself cornered by another of the suited men. Drawing on a strength she didn't know she possessed, she stands her ground. "I'm a nurse," she declares, her voice steady. "My job is to protect and care for those who can't help themselves. If that's a crime, then arrest me." In this moment of controlled chaos, each member of the unlikely team realizes they've crossed a line from which there's no return. They're no longer just hospital staff or law enforcement. They've become guardians, protectors, and maybe even outlaws in the eyes of some. The full weight of their choices begins to settle in, along with the understanding that their actions in the next few minutes will determine not just the fate of the dogs, but potentially their own futures as well. The hospital corridors buzz with barely contained chaos as the situation reaches its boiling point. In the makeshift veterinary unit, Emily and Dr. Harrison work frantically to stabilize the critically ill puppy. Emily's earlier veterinary studies, once considered a youthful detour, now prove invaluable as she assists Dr. Harrison with a risky procedure. Emily, drawing on reserves of courage she didn't know she possessed, takes charge. No, we're not. Not today. She begins chest compressions on the tiny puppy, her determination palpable. We've got company, Brennan warns, pointing to a screen showing more black SUVs pulling up outside. Laura, he says, his voice deceptively calm, I think it's time we discuss the future of your employment here. As these scenes unfold, Sarah finds herself in the most precarious position of all. She's cornered in a supply closet with Hope, the sounds of searching men growing closer. The dog, sensing Sarah's fear, nuzzles her hand comfortingly. Suddenly, the closet door handle jiggles. Sarah's heart pounds as she looks around desperately for an escape route. Her eyes land on a ventilation shaft. It's small, but it might be their only chance. We know they're in there, one says gruffly. As the door begins to open, time seems to stand still. Sarah locks eyes with Hope, drawing strength from the dog's unwavering trust. In this moment, she knows that whatever happens next, there's no turning back. The supply closet door swings open, flooding the small space with harsh fluorescent light. Sarah instinctively shields Hope, ready to face whatever comes next. But instead of the expected confrontation, she's met with a familiar face. Jamal, the wise janitor, his eyes wide with urgency. Without hesitation, Sarah and Hope follow Jamal through a maze of back corridors and hidden passageways. As they navigate the hospital's underbelly, the sounds of pursuit echo distantly behind them. These donations, she says, her voice steady, they're not just from animal lovers, are they, Richard? You did it, he says, a rare smile breaking through his usual stern demeanor. In the security room, Officer Brennan watches in disbelief as FBI agents flood the hospital entrances. His years of experience tell him this is no ordinary raid. Back in the hidden corridors, Jamal leads Sarah and Hope to a little-used exit. As they approach the door, Sarah's phone buzzes with a message from Emily. Puppies safe. Meet at rendezvous point. Sarah steps protectively in front of Hope, her earlier fear transformed into steely resolve. Mrs. Blackwood, she says, her voice unwavering, I think it's time we had a talk about what's really going on here. Hope, sensing the gravity of the situation, lets out a low, warning growl. The sound seems to reverberate through the corridor, a fitting underscore to the climactic confrontation about to unfold. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jamal quickly ushers Sarah and Hope through a hidden panel in the wall, a remnant of the hospital's century-old architecture. As the panel slides shut behind them, Sarah hears Alexandra's frustrated shout fade away. As they hurry through the tunnel, Sarah's phone lights up with a flurry of messages. One from Detective Morgan catches her eye. Blackwood's involved in international bioweapon research. Dogs are carriers, FBI moving in. Meanwhile, in the hospital's main lobby, chaos erupts as FBI agents clash with Blackwood's private security. Dr. Simmons, seizing the moment, addresses the gathered press. In the boardroom, Richard Blackwood finds himself surrounded by FBI agents. As he's being handcuffed, he locks eyes with Dr. Harrison, who's just entered the room. As the truth begins to unravel, each member of the unlikely team that came together to save Hope and her puppies realizes they've stumbled upon something far larger and more dangerous than they ever imagined. Dr. Harrison, she calls out, her voice a mix of excitement and disbelief. These puppies, their blood contains antibodies I've never seen before. It's like they're naturally immune to a whole range of pathogens. Meanwhile, in the underground tunnel, Sarah, Jamal, and Hope reach a junction. They're met by Officer Brennan, who's managed to secure a police van for their escape. As they carefully load Hope into the vehicle, Sarah's phone rings. It's Detective Morgan. This revelation sends a chill down Sarah's spine. She realizes that their fight is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. Their eyes meet, years of unspoken words passing between them in an instant. Dr. Simmons makes a split-second decision. I think it's time the whole truth came to light, she says, gesturing for her daughter to come forward. Hope's intelligent eyes seem to confirm Sarah's words. adding another layer to the already complex tapestry of revelations. The team now faces not just the challenge of protecting the dogs, but of exposing a far-reaching conspiracy that could change the course of medical history and shake the foundations of trust in their institutions. In the days following the dramatic events at Golden Gate Memorial Hospital, the city of San Francisco finds itself at the center of a national storm. The exposure of the Blackwood's illegal bioweapon research and the miraculous properties of Hope and her puppy's blood dominate headlines across the country. Sarah, now hailed as a whistleblower and hero, works tirelessly with Detective Morgan and the FBI to piece together the full extent of the conspiracy. Her testimony, along with the evidence gathered by Dr. Simmons and the team, leads to a series of high-profile arrests, reaching into the upper echelons of government and the pharmaceutical industry. Meanwhile, Dr. Harrison and Emily spearhead a groundbreaking research initiative, working to unlock the secrets of the dog's unique antibodies. Their work promises to revolutionize the treatment of numerous diseases, all while adhering to strict ethical guidelines to ensure no animal suffers in the process. Hope and her puppies, now symbols of both scientific breakthrough and ethical resistance, find a permanent home at a newly established animal sanctuary on the outskirts of the city. Sarah, unable to bear parting with them, takes a leave of absence from the hospital to oversee their care and protection. As the dust begins to settle, the unlikely team that came together to save Hope finds themselves bonded by their shared experience. They gather at the sanctuary, watching the sun set over the Golden Gate Bridge, each reflecting on how their lives have been irrevocably changed by a golden retriever and her puppies. The aftermath of the Blackwood scandal brings about sweeping changes in both local and national policies. Dr. Simmons, leveraging her newfound public support, successfully lobbies for stricter animal welfare laws and increased oversight in medical research. Her reconciliation with her daughter leads to a powerful alliance, combining medical expertise with investigative journalism to keep the public informed and institutions accountable. Officer Brennan, inspired by the events, initiates a pioneering K9 unit within the hospital's security team, designed to detect both medical emergencies and potential threats. His program becomes a model for hospitals across the country. Jamal, the unsung hero whose knowledge of the hospital's secret passages proved crucial, is honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the hospital board. His story of dedication and silent observation over decades touches hearts and reinforces the importance of every team member, regardless of their position. Emily's role in saving the critically ill puppy and her subsequent research contributions earn her a fast-track promotion. She becomes the youngest lead researcher in the hospital's history, heading a new department focused on integrating animal-derived treatments into mainstream medicine. For Sarah, the resolution brings both closure and a new beginning. Her past trauma, once a source of pain, becomes a wellspring of strength and empathy. She establishes a support group for healthcare workers dealing with moral dilemmas and emotional stress, creating a safe space for healing and growth within the medical community. As the team's actions ripple out into the world, creating positive change far beyond San Francisco, they realize that their adventure with Hope was just the beginning of a much larger journey. As she reflects on the journey that brought them here, Sarah feels a deep sense of healing. The trust and unconditional love shown by Hope have helped her confront and overcome her own past traumas. She realizes that in saving the dogs, she had also saved a part of herself she thought was lost forever. Dr. Harrison, who has become a frequent visitor to the sanctuary, approaches Sarah. The normally stoic doctor's eyes are soft as he watches the dogs. "You know," he says quietly, "I called my daughter last week. We're having dinner tomorrow night." Nearby, Emily sits cross-legged on the grass, surrounded by a litter of new puppies, descendants of Hope's original litter. As she gently examines each one, her face glows with purpose and contentment. The young intern who once doubted her place in the medical world now moves with the confidence of someone who has found her true calling. The sanctuary has become more than just a home for rescued animals. It's a place of healing for humans too. Veterans with PTSD, children with autism, and others finding solace in the presence of the remarkable dogs. As the sun dips lower on the horizon, more familiar faces arrive at the sanctuary. Officer Brennan, now retired from the force, leads a group of therapy dogs, graduates of his K9 program. The sight of the once gruff officer gently guiding his canine charges speaks volumes about the transformative power of their shared experience. Dr. Simmons arrives with her daughter, their once strained relationship now a strong partnership. They share excited whispers about their latest investigative project, their passion for truth and justice rekindled by the Blackwood case. As twilight settles over the sanctuary, the group gathers around a small bonfire. Stories are shared, laughter rings out, and there's a palpable sense of family among these once strangers brought together by extraordinary circumstances. Detective Morgan, the last to arrive, joins the circle. He looks around at the faces illuminated by the firelight, each person changed, grown, healed in their own way. "You know," he says, his voice gruff with emotion, "in all my years on the force, I've never seen anything quite like what we went through, but I've also never seen anything as beautiful as what came out of it." As if on cue, Hope approaches the group, her tail wagging gently. She moves from person to person, offering a nuzzle here, a lick there, a gentle reminder of the pure, unconditional love that had brought them all together and changed their lives forever. As the night deepens and stars begin to twinkle above the sanctuary, the group's conversation turns to the future. They discuss plans for expanding the sanctuary, new research initiatives, and ways to continue their advocacy for both animal welfare and ethical medical practices. Sarah, feeling a surge of inspiration, stands up to address her friends. "What we've been through, what we've accomplished, it's bigger than just us. Bigger than San Francisco even. We have a chance to make a real difference in the world." Emily chimes in excitedly. "We could start a foundation, combining animal rescue with medical research and therapy programs." The night concludes with a sense of renewed purpose and hope. As the group prepares to leave, each taking a moment to pat Hope and her puppies goodbye, there's a shared understanding that while one chapter of their journey has ended, a new and exciting one is just beginning. 1 year later, the Hope Foundation is thriving. The sanctuary has doubled in size, and similar centers are opening nationwide. Sarah, now its director, watches as Hope plays with children during a therapy session. A news crew arrives to interview the team about their upcoming international conference. As cameras roll, Hope looks directly at Sarah, her tail wagging, a reminder that sometimes the greatest changes start with a single act of kindness. Dear viewers, Hope's story reminds us that one act of compassion can change the world. We invite you to be part of this change. Visit our website to learn how you can support animal rescue efforts, ethical medical research, or volunteer at a local shelter. Remember, every helping hand matters. Share this video to spread Hope's message of love, courage, and the incredible bond between humans and animals.